Take a pick and roll with it. Make a pick and roll with it. Betting weekly. Fast break. From coast to coast and way downtown. From coast to coast and way downtown. From coast to coast and way downtown.
Happy Friday. Here we are on Betting Weekly Fast Break. I'm Doug Kezirian alongside professional handicapper Wes Reynolds, and we have quite the slate tonight in the W. Some really intriguing angles with 5 games on the slate. We'll even look ahead to tomorrow's matchup between the NBA or WNBA Finals rematch of Liberty and Minnesota Lynx. Wes, we had the day off yesterday, but you and I did some baseball. We each went 2-0, so let's try to stay hot.
Yeah, exactly. Nice little breather, I guess, from the WNBA with the day off. Hopefully, the form continues into this league.
Yeah, and really compelling betting angles, just where we are in the season after the trade deadline. Maybe some teams eyeing the lottery, some teams not so much, and some streaking that's going on that's not that great. So, like I said, I think from a situational handicapping spot, I think some really compelling angles. And just a reminder to everyone out there, if you like what you hear on our shows, sign up for the newsletter, get exclusive tips and the free Insider magazine. Sign up for free at bettingweeklystudios.com. So we've been hot in baseball and the W. I think the show's undefeated this week in the W. I think Wednesday, there was Wednesday weeks, whoever I was on with each had a loss, including myself. But nonetheless, we turned the page to today, and I want to talk about your Indiana Fever, Wes Reynolds. They've lost 3 of 4, including the last game where they blew it as a 9.5-point home favorite. The Dallas Wings, without Arike Gumbawale, go into Bainbridge and win outright. Stephanie White, after the game, complained about the officiating, saying Aaliyah Boston and Kelsey Mitchell get grabbed. Chucked was the word she used. What impact do you think that will have on her team, given that they're off a loss, and the officiating for tonight's game as the Fever host the Mystics as big favorites, 8.5?
You could see the Fever, I think, get to the line a little bit more. I wish Stephanie White maybe would have complained a little bit earlier in the season when you get Caitlin Clark getting the hell beat out of her, but she did not. So I don't want to read too much into that if there's something going on there. But she wasn't obviously the coach last year, but when she was getting kind of physically beat on. So it is nice to see Stephanie White finally stand up, I guess, for her players. Hopefully she does that with everybody on the roster. But nevertheless, I think that you're probably going to see the Fever get to the line a little bit more. The Mystics, I think, no Austin, by the way, tonight. And we know that the Mystics are going essentially with the youth movement here with their young core, and they traded Sykes at the deadline. So they're going with Kiki Arafin. They're going with Sonia Citron. They're going with JC Sheldon, who they acquired in that trade. JC Sheldon, by the way, what is this? Her second year in the league. So she's not an old player by any stretch. So they're going with younger players. And I think that, they want to get a little bit more up tempo in terms of how they play, and still trying to figure it out. Not necessarily tanking, but maybe not necessarily going for it. They're kind of in a holding pattern. I think it's kind of like, if we make the playoffs, great. If we don't, we don't, because they've got a good young core. Georgia Moore, by the way, who's not played all year due to injury. So they've got a good young core, and they've got, I think, clearly a plan there in Washington. But on the Fever side, I do think that you're probably going to see them get to the line a little bit more. I am wanting to play this game, but I'm a little bit gun shy, laying 8.5. The Fever have not been the most reliable home favorite this year. Only 5-7. Lost as a big favorite outright, as you mentioned a couple nights ago, to Dallas. So it's tough for me. It looks like a bounce back on paper, but to lay 8.5 might be a little rich.
I agree with you. That's why I'm going to isolate the first half. I wanted to get your thoughts on how do you think the game's going to start. I think we're going to get a good showing out of Indiana at the beginning of the game. Also, Washington typically is a slow starting team. They're not sort of they don't have a bounce in their step. They were down 20 right away to the Valkyries the other day. Now the Valks didn't miss a three, but because of no Shakira Austin, like you mentioned, they're starting Stephanie Dolson, who's one of the worst defenders I've ever seen. She cannot move, and when you have mobile bigs like Aaliyah Boston, they should exploit her, and that's what Natalie Nakase did in the last game, and that's why Dolson was relegated to just 17 minutes because the Valkyries hunt mismatches. Dolson's plus minus was minus 17. She's just not good. I know last year she shot the three really well. She's getting, what she mid 30s now. She's a liability. So I really like the Fever first half -4, -120 at Bet Rivers, and then I just feel like they're going to get a favorable whistle. I think the Fever are going to push the pace, and frankly, the Mystics are going to run with them. I really do. I think Mystics want to run. That's their offense. So they're not going to slug it out like maybe the Chicago Sky might, or the Valkyries for that matter. First half over is probably a good bet too, but I'll lay the 4 -120 with the Fever, and I'm also going to play the team total for the game. I think we see some points. I don't think the Mystics like slow it up or anything. They want to get up and run. They go small ball lineup, to be honest. They play a lot of guards with Citron, who they're running the offense through, and Sug Sutton will push the pace too. So I'm going to play the team total as well as I scour for. I think it's 74.5 or something like that. But those are my two plays on this game. I really like them.
Yeah, I'm playing the Fever team total over at 85.5
That's the one I was looking for.
In lieu of laying the 8.5, because I think, like you said, with the Mystics, you look at the last two games, scored 91 in Dallas, scored 83 against the Valkyries, who are one of the better defensive teams in the league. So you're starting to see these young players, I think, get a little bit more confidence, not only running the offense through Citron, but Kiki Arafin, a couple straight double-doubles, had a huge game against Dallas. Didn't shoot great last time out, still had 14. But you have a lot of these young players that are getting up and down, and I think that's exactly what they're going to do against the Fever, still trying to kind of learn some things defensively. We know the Fever's defense can kind of come and go a little bit. Sometimes it can be very good, sometimes it could be poor, but I think if you like the Fever to bounce back here, and I do, but I don't want to lay the 8.5. I think going over 85.5 a little bit better. In terms of like props, I haven't played anything. It is Sophie Cunningham's birthday, so if you believe in that narrative, maybe Spicy Sophie has a big game tonight. I think her point total is like 10.5, but I'm just going to go ahead and play the Fever team total here. I think that they get to the foul line, not only Boston, but also Kelsey Mitchell, Flash Howard. You're going to see them get to the line a lot tonight. So 85.5 is where I'm going.
So I'm on that too. I actually had a pick in the New York Post that I had to email and write up yesterday afternoon, and that was the play I went with because I do think the Mystics are just fine getting into an up and down game. I don't think it's going to be one of those games, and I do think the whistle's going to favor it. Do you think they're going to score more tonight, Wes, because of what Stephanie White said that they would in a placebo effect if that had not happened?
A little bit. I don't think it's totally pronounced on one side, but I just think that the Fever kind of had a little bit of a rut in the offensive game. They made a nice little rally in the fourth quarter. Keep in mind, they were down double digits at the end of the third. They had one really bad quarter against the Dallas Wings. They only scored 13, but ended up outscoring Dallas 25-14 in the fourth quarter. Mitchell scoring big, had 24. Boston 14, but only 5 rebounds. But they've got to get a little bit more out of like their fourth and fifth options. So you can't have a goose egg from Lexi Hall. You kind of thought maybe she turned it around with that big game against the Sky, but keep in mind it's against the Sky. Everybody has big games against them. Then she had a goose egg against Dallas the other night. So it's got to be, everybody eats, everybody wins here. Mitchell's leading the charge, but you got to get the production out of Boston and Howard and Hall and Cunningham and somebody off the bench, maybe Dantas or Chloe Bibby, because the bench has been shorthanded because the point guard situation there in Indiana. But I still think they're going to get plenty of points tonight.
Yeah, I do think they're going to score more. When Angel Reese went off on the refs that one game, the next game she had 15 free throw attempts, a season high. So I think we're going to see it. I think the league wouldn't mind a Fever win. They want the Fever in the playoffs. And but I think the Mystics will get up and down. And you mentioned the birthday thing. Asia Wilson had 29 points on her 29th birthday. And Sarah on this show had the minus 110 prop that she'd be the leading scorer in that game. So good handicap on that front. So maybe Sophie does deliver in her on her birthday night game or whatever you want to call it. Just a reminder, we have awesome shows. Obviously, we have Betting Weekly Hardball that I alluded to. Wes and I went 4-0 combined yesterday. It's also football season. That means College Sports Rush with Jimmy Ott and Paul Stone is also around the corner and returns on Tuesday.
Join me, Jimmy Ott, and Paul Stone every Tuesday and Thursday on the College Sports Rush YouTube channel. It's our college football conference previews. It's win total over and unders, individual games, picks to win the conference, picks to make it to the college football playoff, picks to win it all, and individual futures as well. It's every Tuesday and Thursday, 4 p.m. Eastern, college football conference previews on the College Sports Rush YouTube channel.
Looking forward to all those episodes. And it was good to see Jimmy out of Del Mar a couple of weeks ago. And I've been texting him a few WNBA winners as well. He's been pretty appreciative on that front. Let's get back to the W. And the next game I want to discuss is the Valkyries and the Sky. The Valks have been good to us on the show. Back-to-back road win and covers. Now this line's come up a little bit. They're in Chicago. It's up to 7.5. It was 5.5 overnight. They've won and covered 3 straight. Chicago's been essentially blown out 3 straight games. And how about this low total? 149. So, Wes, Golden State's making that playoff push. Well coached, polished team. So much better coached. So is this an auto bet on Golden State?
It is not necessarily for me because now I think you're laying a team at the top of the market that is not used to being obviously this size of a favorite. And there's a reason, because the Sky probably, even though they don't have the worst record, are the worst team in the league. But you have seen now they laid 9.5 at home to Connecticut, but this is the road. And keep in mind, they were 4.5 at the start of the month. They played on August 1st. They did cover and won by 7. That was a late cover, by the way, for Golden State. The Sky were actually within the number the whole time, and then some free throws got him in the end. So you're not used to this team, I think, laying. I think this might be the biggest road favorite, if memory serves me correctly, all season. So I'm a little bit uncomfortable. Now, I've said before, I don't want to bet the Sky at all. Like there's nothing to get me to bet them necessarily on the side. So if you maybe wanted to fade the Sky and it's already moved a little bit, you could look team total under on Chicago, but I'm going to stay out of this one.
Yeah, I'm staying away too. I mean, it's a lot of travel, right? They started the week, as you alluded to, on Monday on Connecticut. Then they play again in the middle of the country on Wednesday, but it was a good spot to bet on them against the Mystics. Sorry, they're working their way back. And now they're in the middle of the country in Chicago. It's tough. They've been hitting every 3, man. They were red hot against the Mystics in the first half. They pulled away the Sun. That was that was at home on Monday. Then they went to the DC. I'm all over the place, and as are the Valkyries, literally. So they've been all over the country. I just think it's a lot to 7.5's a lot to lay in a game with a 149 total. So the market's moved. I agree with the steam. I did feel 5.5 and 6.5's a little cheap. It's just really hard to run through the tape, and I think the Chicago Sky team can make buckets. Now, I've lost money on their team total overs and things like that, so I'm done thinking the Sky can find their groove, but Chicago just isn't good, man. And they're a bad second half team. Really, I hope this game is going to be close at the half because the Sky really just hits a wall in the second half. Now, they've been using Uzun, who's their point guard from, I believe, Turkey, a lot more. And that gets Rachel Banham and Rebecca Allen off the ball. The reason the Sky completely folded in their last game is because they had a brawl or a mini brawl, and Atkins got tossed and Allen got tossed. So they just had no offense left. But I do expect a good performance. They play hard. Angel Reese is on the sideline getting them to play hard. But the Valkyries are just so polished. And I think Cardoso stinks. I'm contractually obligated to rip on Cardoso every time we talk about the Sky because
I'm mad I didn't play
her.
I'm mad I didn't play her point total though, because she did eat in the last
game.
Did. Like somebody, I guess, had to score when all that happened. That was a thing with Bria Hartley, by the way, for the Connecticut Sun, and Rebecca Allen and Atkins took exception to that. So all 3 of them got thrown out. But the Sky are just, you never really know with this team. And I think that they're a tough team to figure out because they're so bad. Yeah, this is leave alone for me.
If you're worried about tanking and draft picks, the Chicago Sky do not own their draft picks. So that's not why Angel's sitting out or anything like that.
Of course they don't.
Minnesota Lynx have their pick. So the Lynx could win it all and then have the number 1 pick next year.
That Sky front office is just tremendous. I mean, they're just making all the right moves.
I think it's the worst front office in all of sports.
It's up there. It's up there. It is very darn close. I mean, we might be talking like Colorado Rockies territory, or we're at least close.
I think it's worse. I really do. But you're right. It may not be as bad as the Rockies. That's a good point. Because
they've been bad for a lot of years.
And they have no farm system whatsoever. I think Chicago's coach is okay. So I think that's part of it. I think this game's super compelling. The Atlanta Dream hosting the Seattle Storm. They just played each other in Seattle. Dream won by double digits without their starting point guard. And the Storm have now lost 6 straight. They're only a 2.5-point dog in Atlanta. So given what's going on with the Storm, who've added Brittany Sykes to the trade deadline, they got some issues, Wes. You took a piece of the money line on the Storm the other night. I did on Sunday. So we've each sort of put our hand on the stove and gotten burned. Now, what do you do in this game? Dream are shorthanded, but they did get Ryan Howard back, so that's good. She came back from injury recently, so that helps. Would you say it's an auto bet on Atlanta here?
No, I actually would not. By the way, this game is being played in Vancouver. So
this is the one in my apologies. Okay.
Yeah. This is a neutral site game, and you've seen a flip because Seattle on Wednesday, I think they got up. They might have closed 2.5, but they got up as high as 3.5 in the market at one point. Maybe there was a little buyback on Atlanta, perhaps trying the middle, but now you're seeing them getting 2.5. So you've had about a 5.5, maybe as much as a 6-point move in the span of just a couple days here. And that game, by the way, where Atlanta did win 85-75, that game was like a 1-2 possession game throughout until the very end of the third quarter, the final minute. I think it was 59-54 in the third. And Ryan Howard makes a 3 with 30 seconds left to go, then puts him up 8. Seattle misses. Ryan Howard makes another 3. And then Ezzie McBeggar throws a bad pass on the inbounds. Ryan Howard steals and makes another 3. So she made 3 threes in 30 seconds. And that made it 68-54. So I guess you could call it misleading final, even though Seattle did get pounded on the glass in that game. And look, they clearly have issues, but I'm going to put my hand on the stove again. I'm gonna go with the Storm plus 2.5. I think that final, the Dream deserved to win the game, but I think that final was misleading. I thought that sequence there at the end of the third quarter, where it's basically a 1-2 possession game the whole game, and all of a sudden Ryan Howard goes off, and we've seen it the opposite too. Ryan Howard is kind of like a little bit of a Rike Ogunbowale in her, where she's a chucker. And sometimes she'll get on one, and she'll get on a heater and get on fire. And then sometimes she'll go 5 of 20. She just happened to have a really good sequence at the end of the third quarter. And then I think you saw Seattle walking off, where it's like, what the hell just happened? We just got outscored 9-0 in 30 seconds. And it felt like maybe they were a little resigned to their fate, even though they made a run to get at the single digits in the final minute. But Seattle just did not shoot very well. Nneka tried to carry them. They had she had 29, 13, and 23 shooting, but except for Gabby Williams, no other double-digit score. Diggins shot poorly. Brittany Sykes shot poorly. Wheeler shot poorly. Malonga had kind of regressed from what she had been producing. She got a lot less minutes, by the way, in this game too. But I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna take the team on the losing streak versus the hottest team in the league right now, the Dream. I'm gonna take the 2.5 with the Seattle Storm. And look, I guess I'm a glutton for punishment here, based on what we've seen. But sometimes you got to do it, man. Sometimes you got to make really hard bets that look awful.
I agree.
And sometimes those are going to get you to the window. So I'm going to go with Seattle once again. Be prepared to get hurt, and if it doesn't happen, then maybe I'm done, because I think that's what we as bettors do. Like when a team burns us, we're like, oh my God, I can't bet them the next time. Well, I'm going to this time. Seattle now is under 500. They have lost 6 in a row. They were fine, 16 and 11, top 4, top 5, safely in the playoffs. Now they're only a game ahead of the Sparks for the very last spot. So, this is a veteran team too, Seattle. This is not a bunch of young kids like the Mystics who are trying to figure it out. So I got a feeling that there's got to be some kind of sense of pride with these veteran players and that they give a big effort tonight in Vancouver.
So I've been back and forth because I think they have fundamental problems because I don't think Magmador has given them much on offense. And I think Gabby Williams is borderline unplayable. She was shooting 3 well early in the year. She's been terrible offensively. I think she's like the 4th favorite somewhere in like most improved, like no chance. They have issues, and I don't think their coach is very good. So I think Atlanta's got a sizable coaching edge with Klesko. And again, we haven't, like, we're glutton for punishment, but we haven't been betting them every game. I did that one time. You did once. It's not like we've been doing a martingaling here. So I think I don't blame you for wanting to go back to the well because they've been in all these games. They've been close games. One went to double overtime. I mean, they've been right there. But I also don't think like their ceiling is much higher. It's their opponents have played well. They've been on they've gotten bad luck on the opponent shooting well in sort of those variance categories with 3-pointers and stuff. So it's not like they're playing poorly. I just don't know that necessarily they're going to play much better. I don't know how much NECA can do. I just think that the structure of the team, I think honestly, like Sykes has to just take over and they have to hit shots. Their 3-point shooting's been down. I would not play Gabby Williams as much as she's playing. I think she's really as great defensively as she is. I don't think she shuts down as like I think Dejanay Carrington's a better defender. So I could take Dejanay's offense or lack thereof for her defense. I don't think Gabby Williams' defense is worth what she's not doing on offense.
Yeah, you look at Seattle and it's like, man, I wish they had like a stretch 4 that could shoot the 3, and they have one. She's just been injured all year, Katie Lou Samuelson, even though, she was coming back from having a baby, trying to play her way back into shape and then hurt her knee. But that's one thing that I think Seattle lacks. They don't have that stretch, that can just hit threes consistently. You look at their 3-point shooting last game, 6 of 17, and the Dream won on 3-point shooting, 12 of 26. Ryan Howard, 5 of 12, but we have seen some bad shooting performances out of. She can shoot you in a game, she can shoot you out of a game, and she will take her fair share of shots. I think 18 attempts the last time, but you got to get these guards playing better. Like Skylar Diggins only having 7 points, that's inexcusable. She's a better player than that. She's still an all-star, even though she's advanced now in age. She is still very much an all-star. That she's got to produce better and got to take a little bit of a leadership role on this team. And I think it's still in Seattle, even though I agree with you. The ceiling is a little bit limited without like that stretch 3-point shooter, but there's enough veteran players on this team that it's kind of like, okay, we got to get it together here. We had 3 all-stars on this team, and we're 16 and 17 now. So I'm banking on that there's a little bit of pride. Total, by the way, has gone down a little bit from 161.5 to where I'm seeing, 60, 59.5, currently 59.5 at Bet Rivers. I think that's better for the dog than it is necessarily for the favored Dream here. So I know a little bit of move on the Dream from the opener and not necessarily a surprise, but I think you're going to see buyback. So I'd go ahead and take Seattle here plus 2.5.
All right, so you're on them. I'm with you, and just want to remind everyone to get involved in the conversation, comment section, and we have really cool interaction. So please join the conversation. No name, just A. I backed the Dream last night, but I feel like the Storm cover the spread tonight. And PD says Seattle, stay away from me because something seems wrong in that locker room, in my opinion. Yeah, I mean, look, things were going right. They usually catch teams on long road trips out west, Pacific Northwest, tough to play. Wes astutely mentioned this game. The previous game was in Seattle. Now it's just in Vancouver. So not a lot of travel. I'm good. I'm good going 0-1 on the Storm in this run. And again, the Fever shot great against them. And they at some point they'll be fine, but I just don't want to have to catch that falling knife, as we like to say. Another interesting handicap between the Aces and the Phoenix Mercury, because the Mercury are off a loss. Aces off a nice win over the Liberty. This spread feels cheap, Wes. 4.5 feels low. The Aces are playing great. Asia's now sort of in the MVP discussion, if you will. It was supposed to be Nafisa Collier, but Asia's 13-1 now. It's come down from about 40-1. So she's lurking with Alyssa Thomas in between at plus 310. I like the Mercury here. I think I think it's a bad spot for the Aces. What about you?
Yeah, I don't know if I want to go with the Aces here, even though we've been referring to them as the Wash Vegas Aces. They've been drying out, though, a little bit, and have been playing very solid basketball. And now, not on that periphery of, being in that 7-8 spot anymore for the playoffs. And once again, Jewel Lloyd off the bench, big game against the Liberty on Wednesday night, had 21 in 26 minutes. So they've maybe, I think, finally figured out what her role should be, is that sixth woman off the bench and giving you that instant offense when, quite frankly, when like Jackie Young and sometimes they play her with AJ. AJ goes to the bench, or Chelsea Gray goes to the bench, where she's the primary offense and she can initiate the offense. And I think that that's been good for Jewel Lloyd here. So Ace is starting to play well. This could be the spot where they falter, though, a little bit, because the Mercury last Thursday beat the hell out of the Fever. Now, the Fever had a couple players injured and they were shorthanded. And then it was the DeWanna Bonner game back, because, some Fever fans had the temerity to boo her, by the way, when she, left the team basically after 9 games. So they were all in their feelings about that, but they took it out on the Fever in that game, 95-60. And then it was the ultimate letdown spot against the Dream, and the Dream got them at home on Sunday. So you haven't had the Mercury play since Sunday, so they are well rested. So if I were to do anything, I think the market probably has it right. I would lean Mercury here, but as of now, no play for me.
I lean Mercury as well. I think they're going to be awful loss, want this game badly. I'm going to go money line parlay here. I don't want to lay the 4.5, even though I do think they cover. I'll go Phoenix with Indiana. I think the Fever get right tonight against that shaky Mystic squad. So I toyed with doing the Valkyries in Chicago because the Valkyries just can't win. But sorry, the Sky can't. But I'll do a 2-leg parlay. Phoenix money line with Indiana money line. At Bet Rivers, it's minus 113. So basically, I'm taking the Mercury at 4.5 instead. I'll do to win the game. So I'll buy 4 points. And by doing that, I'll exchange an Indiana Fever money line. What do you think? Does that 2-leg parlay hit?
No, I think you got 2 teams that win here that I'm a little lukewarm. I mentioned earlier about the Fever, which is why I like the team total to lay those points. But I do think that this is a win, because this was a soft spot in the schedule before it got harder. You were getting Dallas, you were getting Washington, then you're getting Connecticut on the weekend. So it's like, man, they were supposed to win all 3 of those. Now they've already lost to Dallas. So this is a game the Fever, I think, kind of got to have to stop this kind of topsy-turvy up and down, maybe until Caitlin gets back near the end of the month.
All right, good. I like that you're rubber stamping that play for me as well. Final game from a Friday night on Ion. I want to break down. Again, all these games are pretty compelling. This is the LA Sparks at the Dallas Wings. Sparks road chalk here, -5. Now, all season, they've actually been a better road team than a home team. Now, Dallas, we do not think Enrique Gumbawale is going to play tonight. So it's Paige Beckers and the Supremes here. There's a lot of loose ends. Haley Jones got picked up mid-season. Grace Berger. I mean, that's a really shaky starting lineup. And you wonder if Paige is hitting that rookie wall that all rookies hit in all sports. I think the Sparks take care of business here, but I'm not laying 5. Come on.
Yeah, before I get to the game, you did mention Ion. By the way, for Ion, public service announcement, when a game ends, because they have multiple games at the same time in that Friday night doubleheader, go to the other game. Don't go to the studio. If you have live action, go to live action in this, where it's like, I think it was Washington and
score, my friend.
Yeah, that's I may need to invest in that, because you had Washington, Minnesota that was like a 1-possession game. Because the other games in the early session ended. It's like, go live, but they didn't. But I digress. So back to the Sparks and the Wings here. You did mention this line has moved a lot. No Enrique, of course. Now, probably, and I regret not playing it the other night. I regret not playing the Wings. I actually played them in the second half which got there. They were +7, I think, for the second half and basically in a tie game. And I wish I would have played more because I think that was an overreaction to Enrique. I know what she's done in the past, but we've talked about her. She'll have a couple good games, but she's a chucker. And I don't think she's part of the future with this team. Clearly, this is being built around Paige Beckers, as it should be, and getting some pieces with her. Dallas has been in and out. The trade to Dejanay. You did mention my girl Grace Berger. Go Hoosiers. I'm glad she got a rest of the year contract. She's a bench player, basically, that's being forced into a starting role, though. But I think the market had it right on the opener when it was, 3.5, but now you're seeing 5.5. Even I think a rogue 6 out there in the market. Bet River's still at 5. Gosh, I don't want to chase that move on the Sparks, even though I think they win here. And because I was looking at that at first when I saw that move, I'm like, that can't be an Enrique move. Like, is Paige going to sit out? Because they've been sitting her out like a couple games and resting her. So it says game time decision, but I think she's going to play. I was like, that would have to be an explanation for that move to me, because the Sparks, you worry about them even though they're playing better, but their defense is terrible. I know they play a fast pace, so they are going to give up points. So don't be deceived by, they give up a lot of points. They score a lot of points because they have more possessions.
They score quickly, too.
They do. And their defense is not great, especially in the post, unless Cam Brink can play. Now, she is listed as questionable. I actually think the Sparks, I know she's limited offensively, or more so than Hamby. I think they need to play Brink more, to be honest with you, because I think Brink is there defensively. You could see with the rebounding and especially her shot blocking, she's still trying to work back on that offensive game, which Derek Hamby, she can score and get buckets. Man, she cannot guard in the post. So that's why I think going whoever the post player is for the other team, usually I would play over points or over rebounds against Hamby. But with the Wings making so many lineup changes, I just can't get a read on this one. If you made me at this number, I would take Dallas.
Really?
Yeah.
Even with no Enrique and maybe no Paige.
Well, obviously no Paige, then that's out of the equation. But I got to think she's going to play. I know listed as game time decision. I think she's going to play, but, all bets are off, clearly, if she doesn't go here. But I think 5.5, I think that's a little bit high. If you're assuming
right now at Bet Rivers,
if you're assuming that Paige is going to play, I think that's a little high. But I'm not really rushing to take the Wings necessarily in this spot. With the Sparks right there in playoff contention, you need every single game. And even though this is a road game, this is a highly winnable road game for LA. So this is going to be a leave alone for me.
So you mentioned the line move. It was about 3.5. It's now up to 5 at Bet Rivers. Sparks need this game. They're a half game out of the last playoff spot. They have to take care of business. They've lost 2 of 3. This could be a get-right spot. I think Kelsey could go off against this bad defense. Now, I will say, when you're down to 10-day contract type of players, when you're the Dallas Wings, then sometimes you get a really strong performance. For example, they're coming off the big win, and they defended Kelsey Mitchell pretty well in the final seconds, right? Like, these players need contracts. So I wonder if the Sparks jump on them early, like the Wings a little fat and happy, as we like to say, coming off the nice upset. I think the Wings could be a little flat here. They were running out of steam. It's not like they hit shots down the stretch. They blew a lead. Paige did not convert before Kelsey Mitchell, dribbled it out or whatever. So I think Sparks probably going to be the right side. I just don't want to pay to see it.
From a prop standpoint, I don't know if I'm going to end up getting involved here, but there's a part of me that wants to play Yeru under, because she had 20. She had a spike game against the Fever and had 20 points and hit a couple threes. And, because she had a goose egg against Washington the game before. So there's a part of me that wants to sell high on Yeru here. But, she's going to get matchups with like Hamby. And I worry about Hamby's defense. One that actually played very well against the Fever was Maddie Segrist at 22, 9 of 13 shooting. I like her as a player. By the way, for Dallas, Paige, not a great shooting night, but had 16. I think this team gives you an effort and plays hard. Like when I watch them, they never like give up, but there are this is such a different roster than when they started with the season, with Diamond Miller and Haley Jones and Giesel Soder missed time because of Eurobasket. And like we mentioned, Grace Berger's been in and out, I think with like 3 or 4 different teams this season on hardship contracts, and finally has something with Dallas, at least till the end of the year. Ugh, this is a tough team to get a read on. I don't want to lay the worst of it, though, with the Sparks here necessarily, so it's a stay away.
That's some background with Yeru. Washington goes small a lot. That's why she was unplayable, because Dalton couldn't play because he stinks and Austin was out. So they went small. But Aaliyah Boston in the game, you needed Yeru to play against her. So there was just and she was picking and popping a lot of threes, a lot of shooting, and she crashed the boards a lot. And then again, as Stephanie White was alleging, that Yeru was able to play physical because Boston wasn't getting a favorable whistle.
She did hook her late, and then they called that on Boston. And by the way, spikes in minutes too. She had 27 minutes against the Fever, and then the games before 10 against Washington, then went 18 against the Liberty. So, yeah, maybe I'd be overreading wanting to play the under there, but I could
not play against the Sparks. Yeah, they don't have traditional bigs, right?
And this is going to be I know Dallas can play fast, but this is going to be like a super fast pace. It is hard, by the way, finding out, because they got hit by some very sharp prop bettors in the Liberty game. There were a lot of Sparks props that got hit to the under, and they all went over. Hamby went over, Plum went over, Stevens went over, Rakia Jackson went over. Like basically all of them went over. So that's something to keep in mind. But this Sparks team, every price, can be playable, but you've got to really be sure if you're going to be playing under on player props with the Los Angeles Sparks based on the tempo that they play. So I'd be very careful. Now, eventually the number will spike enough where an under is worth a play, but timing is everything, I think, with this team.
All right, good stuff. So we got a couple official plays. I got Moneyline Parlay. I got the Fever team total, as does Wes, and I'm also on the Fever first half -4. So, and your Wes is also playing the underdog in the Vancouver game, Seattle +2.5. As Michael Scott would say, Wes, he's ready to get hurt again. So it happens. It happens to the best of us. Maybe I'll get there soon with the Seattle Storm. So fun week. Hopefully we finish strong. Wes, any thoughts tomorrow on the WNBA Finals rematch? Liberty hosting the Lynx. I'm on the Lynx here. I think they're just the better team, and they have their number. So let me rephrase that. Lynx at home -2.5. I'll lay it. I just think their defensive tenacity is too much for a Liberty team that just doesn't have the horses right now.
Yeah, I haven't played this yet. I think the Lynx are going to get the money. It's just the Liberty, I feel like they're kind of running out of bodies a little bit. They only played 7 in that win against Sparks. I guess they played 8, but one player played like 4 minutes. So basically 7, because Isabel Harrison was out with the concussion. And it's not like she's some game changer, but she's certainly a death piece down low when John Kell goes to the bench. But they're very shorthanded now without Stewie, without Sabali, and you just wonder, against a team like the Lynx that even without Fee is still very, very deep. Adding Dejanay was a great move at the deadline for them to pair her with the stud buds there in the backcourt with Williams and Hedeman. And Courtney Williams, to her credit, has picked up the scoring. She's absolutely picked up the scoring without Fee, and still getting other players involved too. Still getting McBride involved, still getting Alana Smith and Bridget Carlton. And that's the key for the Lynx. Who were they going to step up without Fee? And they have. They've upped their scoring. Everybody, it's been by committee. It hasn't been a one-woman show. So I think the Lynx are the best team. I'm not getting in front of them right now.
Yeah. I'm making it an official play. I'll add this to my list of plays. Lynx -2.5. And once props get posted, I'd look to play Sabrina under, because
she's been going under. She's been going
And they-
under a lot recently.
Well, they're going to put Carrington on her too, and she can't do anything. She's not athletic enough. She's not fast enough or agile. I think Carrington can shut her down. So, and she's a willing passer. She's a good passer and draws attention and all that stuff. It's just a big number. Her point totals are 20.5. So when that gets posted, I would play that under. I recommend that. So
Miesemann, by the way, might be the overplay if you like somebody from the Liberty. If you think Sabrina is going to be down, because I'm looking, there's only like 1 or 2 markets that have these props right now, but I think it's 18.5 on Sabrina, and she's been in like the 20s. So clearly they are moving her down, not only because of the matchup, but because of the results as well. So who's going to benefit from that? Is it Miesemann? Is it Tasha Cloud? Because somebody's going to score, I think, for the Liberty in that spot where the total at 165.5. So just something to keep in mind as these get posted overnight and into tomorrow morning.
All right. Good stuff. All right. That's going to do it for this show. Like we said, 5 fun games tonight in the W and 1 tomorrow, an island game, lone game in the W tomorrow. So I wanted to touch on that. Thanks to everyone for tuning in, and we'll look to stay hot on a fun week under the Betting Weekly umbrella. So for Wes Reynolds and everyone else behind the scenes who does such a fantastic job to make it all look so strong, I'm Doug Kezirian. Good luck tonight and the rest of the weekend, and we'll see you back here next week.